perfection, also known as Ledian's second name, even though we always wanted, let's be honest, the mistakes and mess-ups are most of the time more entertaining. So when it comes to art, let's mess around instead of manifesting Poke Picasso and make some dog shit art while trying to sell it on Fiverr, which goes much worse than intended. Sounds like a good plan to me. But before that, a must-hear message. ELESTRALS Awakened, the best upcoming monster catcher RPG in the 2.5D pixel art style from A-Drive's ELESTRALS team, is now on Kickstarter. I hear you saying, sounds cool, but I'll only play if they have 100 plus Celestials to train, it's set in Greek mythology with plenty of dungeons, of course has Shady Penguin on the development team, duh, and has better mechanics than all the other monster catchers. Well, let's just say that heading over to the Kickstarter campaign with my link will be the exact correct thing to do. Make your mom even more proud of you by backing it before November 7th, and let's ascend together to the next level. Like how any chaotic neutral activity begins, I needed to start out by abiding by Fiverr's terms just for a bit if I wanted to commit morally questionable things later down the road, a sentence you've never heard or will hear again in your life, by the way, quickly coming up with the character by the name of Honest Herb, and setting up the account in a longer time than I wanted, due to Fiverr thinking such an original masterpiece as Herb's profile picture was actually stolen by me. Which is kinda true. I mean, technically Herb did get that picture from me, not himself. Wait, is this how split personality disorder starts out? Before I indulge myself too much with I am 14 and this is deep levels of self-diagnosing, I also needed to come up with an idea of how the sprites and their quality should look like. Going for the honest salesman approach like his namesake, I themed the account around being blunt with the skills and intentions, while also whipping up 3 quick new sprites that pained me to make. My red flag is perfectionism. Just taking some inspiration from Herb, I wanted to share that. With a profile and gig set, all that's left for us, well, me, don't take my credit, is to wait until we get our first order, if we ever get one. And basing on how the last time went, that might be a good while. So to take off at least a little bit of that time, I went ahead and created the second account as advertised in the intro, which will be the devil on our opposite metaphorical shoulder. Mike-licious also goes by the username Malicious. Malicious? Like malicious? You probably got that. Hopefully the customers won't. And to keep up with the ruse, for Mike's gig I went ahead and did the previous Fiverr videos trick of taking some sprites I've made as commission work and use them for the gig's advertising. Will the result be as good as it is in the images? I wouldn't bet my level 100 shiny watchhawk on it, I'll say that much. After some more ass pinching from Fiverr about me supposedly using stolen images for yet another profile, the groundwork was set for our experiment to begin. Both have the lowest prices possible set for each package, so all that's now left is to see if the honest hard-working fella, or lying about their quality smella, will take home the non-existent prize. Is this a good thing we're doing? I don't want that on my consciousness yet, so let's delay it like that one doctor visit I always do. I'll be back if I get news. Yeah, I didn't specify what type of news. Besides some piss-poor attempts at trying to scam our innocent little Herb here, he and Mike had some unexpected complications. Turns out, somehow, in their systems over at Fiverr HQ, both of the accounts were flagged as multiple accounts under one person. I mean, that is true, but how the hell do they know that? I mean, my best guess is probably IP tracking. I still had separate Gmails and phone numbers. Cheeky bastards. After plenty of back and forth with annoying AI assistants that just threw me for a loop in their customer service chat, then initially promising Gmail conversations via Mike Licious' email only to get a ray of hope, which was there just to build me up and knock me down the next day even harder, despite my top tier bullshitting in the emails. Though even if it seemed promising, and I did the same for our dear Herb simultaneously, on day 4 I got a confirmation that both accounts got the equivalent of Fiverr vasectomies. But hey, at least the scam bots can run rampant. Oh well. Having no other choice, both of the lads were taken out back and learned what lead tasted that day. Mike didn't care much about him, seemed kinda sleazy. But Herbert honest? Enjoy those soft clouds in heaven, bud. Wait. That gave me an idea. Crazy enough to maybe just work. Time to initiate plan B. Since making an account on Fiverr seems to be much more difficult than actually playing something from your Steam backlog, I decided to bring back the OG. Cover. Sick cameo, I know. MCU? Psh, better watch out. Making a sort of a mismatch between that and Herb's accounts. Meet Herbert Cover, also known as Herbest. Also, Mike's still in the ditch. He kind of seemed more chaotic evil than neutral. I think that's for the best. Anywho, recycling the post gig that was left to have the new herb coating, I prepared everything and finally got a listing set and ready for offers. Well, I intended to. Fiverr wanted to bully me some more. What the fuck do you mean removed? But some arguing later, it's time to actually get some orders. Right. With all of this Fiverr antics fluff in the middle, I forgot that we need to actually get some orders to do the challenge itself. Let me just call up someone real quick. Yo Dio, remember that favor you owe me? Objection! Yeah, cough it up. No, not for the idol. Just, can you do that? Sweet. Huh. I guess I should have expected more from one of the most famous anime villains to screw me over. 2.5 months? You know, by this point, I was just considering scrapping this video altogether. I mean, what would that say about humanity and having trust in others? Like, that would just paint us in a bad image. Never mind, we already have that covered. But right as I was leaning to the delete button to the script, there actually, no joke, someone put in an order. Be it an accident, a cheapskate, or someone who doesn't know better, I didn't want to let this opportunity go to waste. Taking their honestly kinda weird request, yet not questioning it much, I put in more effort than I probably should have, considering the value. Then for the sake of outputting pent up 2.5 months of effort, by also giving a time-lapse and some in-game ROM showcases to give them idea of how it should look for their projects, I conclude the experiment with something actually being made, and saluting the person for actually giving a shot to someone that, from their POV, was the Fiverr Pokemon equivalent of the Resident Evil 4 shopkeeper.
Got something that might interest you.
Well, I guess I need a name for it too. Splunky? A pistol? Nah, too on the nose. Chimpanzee? Yeah, no, keep the shit out of the kitchen. Too on the nose. How about just mix pistol, monkey, and C into one and call it Pistonky? Don't care that it sounds like Piston Key or Pisdunk E. I'll be able to sleep at night anyways. But what did we learn in the end? Do underhanded tactics, like surprising a buyer with a better sprite than advertised work? No, not really. I mean, you need someone to actually buy from you to surprise them in the first place. But hey, it still was more successful than the other idea we had of showing good, but giving bad sprites. I love technicalities. But even though it was way messier and longer than I wanted it to be, I still found the experience to be charming. Like, even if art is bad, okay, in this case specifically my art is bad, the way it can bring together people and still evoke emotion, like how I mentioned perfection at the start, we can't get it without making a few mistakes along the way. Without errors, there's no such thing as perfection. And hey, even outside of the Pokemon sprites, Honest Herb wouldn't have existed if it weren't for this. So, salute Herb for me in the comments. Good job, soldier. But enough of the sappiness and whatever bullshit yapping I am supposedly doing right now, because I don't have any description for that. Let me squeak in one last heartwarming message to the patrons instead, and sell out with a member plug right after. Do the same for my Twitter, which you actually shouldn't see now that I think about it. Then close off with saying stay tuned for more before you click on one of these two bangers.